Okay, so let's move on to the section with CRUD. So these are the endpoints that we currently have. Or that we will implement. So we have get health check, we have post, we have get for show a school handler, we have a put for updating the school handler, and we have a delete for deleting a particular school. Okay, so what we want to do in this video is to set up our code to be able to actually implement our CRUD functionality. All right, so let's proceed with that. So the first thing that I want to do, and we did this in the previous series, is to create a model. And that model will allow us to call the insert, the get, the update, and the delete methods, similar to what we did previously. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to go into my external schools.go file. Okay, so currently we have the school struct, we have the validate school function, and so what I'm going to do down here is to create a school model. Okay, so let me make my comment. I will define a school model which wraps a SQL.db connection pool. Again, this is not something that is new to you because we have done this previously in the first series. Okay, so let's create this new type, school model. Okay, and all this school model will have is a field name DB, which is a pointer to an SQL.db. Okay, again, just like what we did previously. And so what I'm going to add now is the methods that we will be able to call from our handlers. So insert allows us to create a new school. Okay, and I'm just going to put, so I'm going to say func. This is a method on our school model, right? And we will call it insert, of course. And what we must provide to insert is actually the school that should be inserted into our database table. So school, and it's going to be a pointer to the school type. Now what this method will return is an error in case, well, to signify whether it was successful or we had a problem. For now, we're just going to return nil. Okay, so we will complete the implementations later on. Okay, so we will now do, that was the C, create. Let's do the R for read, but we're going to call it get. Okay, so get allows us to retrieve a specific school. Okay, so it means we need to provide the ID of that school. Right, so we will call this get, and we require the ID, which is of type int 64. Right, so int 64 corresponds to our big serial in Postgres. And once we have the ID, we will return that school, okay, or pointer to that school, along with an error message. Again, let's just return nil for the school and nil for the error message. All right, so let's move on to the U in our CRUD. So let's deal with the update. So update, all right, allows us to update or to edit, alter a specific school. Right, so all we need to provide, okay, so let me create that. Again, it's a method on the school model type. It's going to be called update, and we need to actually provide the school that we want to update. Okay, so it's a school, not the ID. And so once you have this school, we will do the update, and then we will return an error message when we're done. For now, all the update will do is to return nil. And finally, we will do the D, which is to delete. So delete removes a specific school. Okay. And so we will provide the ID of the specific school that we want to delete. And then, of course, we will return an error when we're done. For now, we're just going to return nil. Okay, so our job will be to implement these 4 methods. Now, what I want to do is to add another layer of abstraction. And so what I want to do is to create a special type that will hold all of my models. So we have the school model. Later on, we'll have the user's model. And you could have many more models after that. So what we want to do, and we did not do this in the first series, so this is something new. And again, it's something that will allow you to increase or improve your toolbox to learn new ways of structuring your code. So what we want to do is to create a type that contains all of our models. Okay, so it gives us a bit more structure. So let me just create a new file. Okay, I'm just going to use touch. Okay, so touch allows me to create a new file. Okay, internal. It's going to be in the data, but it's going to be called models.go. Okay. Okay, so let me open that file, models.go. And so what I'm going to place in here is the file name. So it's a part of the data package, right? And let's just import what we need. So what we will need is database /SQL, and we will need errors. Okay, so what I want to do is to create our error message, and this error message will be called error record not found. Now previously we had put this in the model itself. Okay, in the model in this case we would have put it in schools.go, but we want to put it in this specific models.go file. So errors.new, okay, and our message will be record not found. Okay, so we're just moving it over to this file. Excuse me. So this is we come to the importance of this file, and we'll create a wrapper, okay, for our data models. Okay, so I'm going to create a new type, and this type will be called models. Okay, and this type will contain all our models. So the first one it will contain is a schools field of type school model. Okay, and if we have any more models later on, we'll place them as fields. All right, and so all I want to do now is to create one function that will allow me to create a new model. So I'm going to create a function. So new models is the name of my function, and it allows us to create a new model, new models. All right, so models, okay, oops, new models. And what new models expects is the database connection pool. So DB, and it's a of type SQL.db. Okay, so once we provide this to our new models function, this function will create a model, initialize it with the SQL.db connection pool, and then return that models to us. Okay, so all I'm going to do, I'm going to return models. Okay, and we know that models has a field called schools right now, and that schools field will be initialized with a school model. And so a school model obviously needs a database connection, and so DB will be initialized with the DB that is passed in. Okay, and that's it. So why did we do this? Well, one, it allows us to keep all our error messages in one place for our models. But more importantly, it allows us to have another layer of abstraction where we have all of our models in one file. Okay, so it doesn't matter if we have 2 models, 3 models, 4 models, we will all consider them of parent type models. Okay, so it keeps everything neat. Now, how do we actually use this? Well, now when we go to our main.go file, right, we have to ensure that our handlers can see our models. Right, so let's just go up here, and again, dependency injection. right? And so we will come to our application struct. And since our handlers need to see our models, we will have a field called models. Okay, and this field will be of type data dot new models. Okay, so I did not import it. So I'll just save, Command S. All right, and it's now here. Okay, it's now here. Okay, so thankfully, or what I like about Visual Studio Code, it helps me with these imports. All right, so we have this here, and now we can move on. All right, so data.models, I'm calling it new models, data.models. Yeah, all right, data.models. Okay, so this data.models contains schools, okay? So all I'm gonna do now is go down to the area where we initialize our app. Where this, yeah, here. Okay, here. All right. And here now, all I'm gonna do is to say that models. Okay, it will be data that now here I'm going to call the new models function. Okay, and so remember this function expects a database connection. Okay, SQL.db. And so we do have that, right? It's called DB. And that's all we need to provide to our new models function. So if we go back, right, this new models function will take that and it will use that to initialize the school model. Because if you recall, the school model actually requires a database connection pool. Okay, so it's doing all of the work for us. All right, and so if we have other models listed, then we could also pass this database connection pool to those models as well. Okay, so it kind of makes everything you know where to find everything. Okay, so with that out of the way, we're gonna save this, and now let's proceed to test our server just to make sure we didn't break anything. So go run that /cmd API. Okay, great. So it still works. We didn't break anything. So in the next lesson, what we will do is to implement our C in the CRUD. In other words, we will implement our insert method. So I'll see you in that next lesson.